Dr. Gulriz and Dr. Farhad Rezaei. First of all, I want to thank both of you for accepting to join IRAM Roundtable discussion.
I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you very much.
Well, actually, there are certainly many issues to discuss since a lot has been going on around Iran recently. But for the sake of time, I'm going to limit our discussion to the post-nuclear deal discussions. More specifically, we will be talking about the implications of the deal for Iran's domestic and foreign politics. Let me start with Dr. Shan from Top University of Economics and Technology from the Political Science and International Relations Department. Dr. Shan, although Iran signed the deal with 5+1 countries, namely China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States, plus Germany, the US was and is the most important party of the agreement, considering the history of the tense relations between the United States and Iran. So my question is, do you think the nuclear deal of 2015 signals a radical shift in US-Iran relations?
Thanks for the question. The deal is highly substantial, both for US, Iran, and regional politics, as well as global politics. I would like to tackle this question from the perspective of both US and Iran and come up with a general conclusion. I think there was a shift in Obama's foreign policy from previous administration's foreign policy. I mean, George W. Bush's foreign policy vis-à-vis Iran. If you remember those turbulent days, the regime change was on the agenda. There was demonization of Iran through this discourse of axis of evil. So it was a time of US unilateralism and interventionism in the Middle East. What we see is under Obama is he gave a chance to diplomacy. He did not demonize Iran, and he acted as Iran is a responsible partner that deserves to be engaged diplomatically. So he dropped this idea of regime change, and he got everyone on board. So it was multilateral, non-interventionist, and it was compelling Iran to change its behavior, but not its regime. So I think this was a shift in US foreign policy, and it really paid off. It produced results.
And this is something new, right?
Yes.
Trying not to change the Iranian regime, because this is what we have been hearing from the United States administration.
Exactly. And this has what really created so much resentment, anger, and hatred inside Iran against the United States. So if you find this medium or modicum of mutual respect and dignity, quote unquote, which is very much praised by the Iranian leaders, now we see that there was a room for maneuver, diplomacy, talking, rather than dehumanizing or demonizing one another. But is it that radical? It's not a grand bargain. US and Iran are not allies. This is not a return to pre-revolutionary days, but this is a highly substantial deal. We need to acknowledge that. And from Iran's perspective, Iran received great benefits in the sense that it basically observed its red line, which is, uranium enrichment in its own soil, retaining the right to nuclear research on its own soil. So the agreement gave Iran this. And it also got rid of sanctions, even though there are some problems, ongoing problems. Still, this is an important deal for Iran because Iran needed this deal to normalize, to reintegrate back into global politics, regional politics. Even though there are new struggles, confrontations, problems, still this is a significant moment, a crossroad for Iran's foreign policy as well. So not that radical because United States did not change its overall policy vis-à-vis Iran, and not that radical because Iran did not change its perception vis-à-vis United States completely, but still it is a highly substantial deal, so this must be acknowledged.
Okay, that's I think very true, and thank you very much for your answer. And now let me turn to Dr. Farhad Rezaei from Sakarya University, the Middle East Institute. Dr. Rezaei, who made the deal? We know that there are proponents and opponents of this deal. So who actually made the deal inside Iran?
Well, before I mention who made the deal, it is important to know that what brought Iran to the deal. The global sanctions brought Iran's economy to its knees. So there was a unanimous decision in Iran between the various groups. As I said, Iran is not a unitary actor system. Its system is called negotiated political order. So what comes out of it as a decision is the result of various interact and change and negotiation between these various groups. So the deal apparently and absolutely is a result of the unanimous decision between the various groups, influence groups, meaning that from the office of the President Rouhani and his team, and the revolutionary guards, the Bunyads, and also the office of the Supreme Leader. None of these groups are able to make decision alone, unilaterally. So the decision of making a deal with the international community is a unanimous decision. All of the groups are agree with it. And this is in fact this is in fact the result of the interact between all of the groups.
Okay, but but we know that there are still some disagreements between, let's say, the reformists represented by Rouhani and the circle around him, and those who get together around the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. What are the basic arguments of these two groups?
The basic arguments and the basic reason of disagreement between these two groups, in fact, not primarily because of the deal, because as I said, they were ready for making a deal. And it was in fact out of their power. They had to make a deal because their economy was about a total collapse. So they had to make a deal. Beside of that, their main disagreement now in regard with the deal is that they didn't receive the economic benefits of the deal. And as I just explained in the panel, there are various groups in the United States and Washington that they are trying to limit the economic benefits of the deal. For example, the Israel lobby, the Congress-dominated Republicans, they are trying to since they cannot torpedo the deal, they want to limit its economic benefits. This is in fact the main point that made disagreement in Iran between the normalizers, between the government of Hassan Rouhani and their opponents. They saying that Hassan Rouhani made a lot of appeasement toward Washington and toward the global powers. We finished our nuclear activities for nothing, in fact. They received nothing in return, because one of the main principles of making deal, which is mentioned in the deal, is just for exchange to lifting of sanctions. So the sanctions are still in place, and the Iranians got nothing so far. So this is the main point of disagreement regarding the deal. Another point of disagreement between the government of Hassan Rouhani and its opponents is in fact regarding the making relationship with the United States of America. They say that this deal is only about the deal. It's not about the ballistic missiles. It's not about making relationship with the United States. So this is the main and fundamental disagreement between the government, meaning that between the normalizers and the coalition of normalizers, which is included of Ayatollah Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, a pragmatic politician, and also between and also President Hassan Rouhani with the other groups, with the Revolutionary Guards, with the Supreme Leader Office. And in fact, as I said, two main disagreements: one regarding the limited economic benefits of the deal, and the second disagreement is regarding the making relationship with the United States of America. They're absolutely against it, and they would not allow under any circumstance to this process come through and making any type of relationship with the United States.
Okay, yeah, so but concerning the spirit and the necessity of the deal, both of the parties agree on it.
To some certain levels, of course, both parties are agreeing.
Okay.
For example, they are agreeing with not torpedoing of the deal, to keep loyalty of the deal. For example, at the level of the enrichment of uranium, at the level of proceeding with the weaponization activities, they are agreed that they have to stay loyal to the deal because it will bring back the sanctions, which is one of the characteristics of the nuclear deal, that if Iran defaults on the deal, the sanctions would come back, which is called the snapback approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So both parties are committed to stay loyal to the agreement.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Dr. Shan, according to some people, this deal added to Iran's influence in the Middle East. That Iran found a kind of legitimizing ground for its policies in the Middle East. Now Iran is more confident in what it is doing in Syria or in Yemen, in Iraq. Do you agree with it? I mean, does the deal tell us anything about Iran's greater Middle East, Iran's policies about the Middle East in general?
As you mentioned, there are debates as to Iran is emboldened by the deal, and we hear these a lot, especially in US public opinion, because many think that Iran is appeased, emboldened, now it has much room for maneuver because it is relieved of military attacks and sanctions, etc. I would argue that Iran has been careful to say that yes, we had this deal, but it has no implications on our regional policy, because they made this differentiation. These are non-negotiable. We are here negotiating only nuclear deal, so we will continue with our regional policy. We won't abandon our friends, our allies in the region. So apparently Iran is relieved from this military and economic pressure, and this might have given Iran some more room for maneuver. But I think Iran's growing involvement in the region is much more related with the situation on the ground. So, for example, in Syria, when we think of Russian intervention in late 2015, Iran, there was a division of labor between Russia and Iran. So while Russia was, providing air campaign, Iran got involved through ground offensives. So this is not very much related with this nuclear deal issue, because Syria, the portfolio of Syria is something else. And what has been happening in Iraq is happening for a while. So Iran's growing involvement is more to do with regional realities. For some parts of the regime, we can hear more bold statements. This might show some sort of emboldenment, but in terms of their policies, I think it is more responding to regional realities. And for example, in Yemen, it is more checking with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is also involved in Syria. So it is more regional dynamics than Iran-US relations, I think, which really determines the shape of Iran's involvement.
So in the post-deal period, as far as I understand from what you said, Iran is continuing to do what it has been doing for a few years now.
Exactly,
right? Okay.
Exactly. It has more to do with regional dynamics and the Arab Spring. Yes, but now perhaps it has more economic power to pour into these states, or it is relieved from military pressure so that it can concentrate more on other operations. True, but I think it is following a similar kind of path before and after the deal.
Okay. I think there is another very significant dimension of this deal, which is America's motivation for signing the deal with Iran. And some people inside America, like Trump and other conservative people inside America, they criticize Barack Obama, the President of the United States, for the deal. And Barack Obama defended himself by saying that the deal actually intends to moderate Iran's domestic politics and Iran's regime. Does the deal really carry this potential?
Well, about the deal, first of all, this deal sharply reduces Iran's bomb-making stockpile of uranium for 15 years and pushes Iran's ability to break out with the nuclear weapon from 3 months, where it was before the deal, to 1 year. This deal is, in my opinion, the most effective and realistic way to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon anytime in the next 15 years. It does so by imposing a series of physical limits on its production of fissile material which is required to make a bomb. From my understanding, the Iranians just collapsed. It's a big failure for Iran's foreign policy. But to hear it from the American Republicans or from the Israeli officials, this is a deal that brings Armageddon on America, which is not true. There are a lot of deliberate misinformation about the deal, which is not true, absolutely not true. So this deal, as I said, could be regarded as a big failure for Iran's foreign policy in terms of whether by this deal Iranians are going to make a bomb. It's impossible. It's impossible. Because all of the requirements for the Iranians, for example, if we believe that the Iranians wanted to make a bomb, which I don't believe at all. Iranians never wanted to make a bomb. They wanted to have a breakout position, which still they have it.
A virtual deterrence, right?
Of course. They are now in the virtual having a breakout position. It's a matter of decision. If they want to make a bomb, they would do that. But I don't think they make such a decision because of a number of reasons. First of all, if they default on the agreement, first sanctions would come back, then it would be a global condemnation, and more importantly, there would be the possibility of military option.
Against Iran, yes.
Yeah, against Iran. So whatever going on in Washington is just a matter of partisan politics. The Republicans are not so right on whatever they are accusing the Obama administration, because as I said, they are so pro-Israel. They are under the effect of the AIPAC Israel lobby, and they just pronounce whatever the AIPAC says. Okay. The Israelis are not happy with the deal, so it is natural to hear that what is going on in Washington. They are always saying that this deal is what this deal is going to bring Armageddon on America. It's not true. It's not true. The Obama administration made a good deal, I believe. And as I said, this is the only way to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Otherwise, what is the other option? There is no other option. They are always
fantasy.
Oh, of course. They are always saying that we have to go for the other option, but there is, in fact, in reality, there is no other option. The deal was, in fact, the best possible option for both Iran and for both America.
Yes. With the presidential elections ahead only 2 or 3 weeks in the United States in November and in Iran in May 2017, I think the deal will continue to have continue to bring about many discussions, and we will be talking about this deal, I think, in the upcoming weeks and months as well. And for the moment, thank you very much for attending our roundtable discussion and for your comments to Dr. Shen and Dr. Rezaei.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.